The movie begins with old footage of two best friends, Baum and Ib, who are having a fun and happy time while horse riding and ice skating. They belong to wealthy families. Their fathers are also friends and business partners who are planning the construction of a luxury penthouse. The year is 1997, and the penthouse is in mid-construction. Baum and Ib draw a sign of their hands together on a concrete wall of the building. Their fathers allocate a single unit in the building for them, and they promise to stay in that unit together. When the two walk down the building, they are shocked to find their fathers devastated. It seems that they have heard bad news. A financial crisis has hit the country, the economy has crashed, and this has led to the bankruptcy of the entire nation. Businesses are shutting down, companies are collapsing, and this has also affected their father's businesses. They can no longer continue working on the penthouse project because of a lack of funds, and no one will be able to afford these units. This leads to the bankruptcy of both families. After this incident, Ib's father has become violent towards her. He cannot cope with the situation and plans. Baum comforts Ib and gives her an apple. Ib reveals that she plans to get out of this misery. She knows where her mother hides the gun. She also tells Baum that the bank has seized their house, and now she must live away from her. After hearing this, Baum gives her tuition fee to Ib so she can buy a pager and the two can still communicate with each other. At night, Baum's father happily tells her that he has found a job as a contractor, and they will be rich again. The next day, Baum's mother scolds her for not paying the tuition. Instead, she finds her pager and gets even angrier. Baum confesses to her mother that she feels shame for selling things on the street. Her mother tells her to leave the house, so she does. She gets a message from Ib that her father has. At that time, Baum sees her father walking into a hotel. She follows him, and Baum is shocked to see her father talking to an imaginary client. Her father has gone crazy. Baum feels sad and decides she wants to because she cannot handle this stress and anxiety. She calls Ib and tells her that she is planning to. The two meet at their father's penthouse on Baum's 15th birthday. Ib has brought her father's weapon. She asks Baum not to let her. In response, Baum promises. So, Ib decides to by using the weapon and instantly passes away. Seeing this, Baum gets very scared. She is not ready and backs away from her promise. Many years later, Baum has become a grown woman and she is living her life with her teenage daughter named Belle. Once again, Baum is facing a financial crisis and is on the verge of bankruptcy. She then decides to complete the penthouse that was left unfinished by her father and sell it. She then presents her idea to the investors and stakeholders. As the penthouse is half owned by Ib's father, Baum needs approval from her family. During the visit to the unfinished penthouse, Belle starts exploring the building. She then visits the highest floor, where she takes pictures and finds the hand sign made by Baum and Ib. She finds it interesting and writes her name on top of it. Suddenly, a door opens and Belle goes to check it. Her camera detects a face inside the room, so she enters and finds a pager. This is Ib's pager, and it contains Baum's messages to Ib. Belle keeps the pager and brings it home. She reads the grim messages written by her mother to her best friend. Belle is unaware of the fact that these messages were in fact sent by her own mother. She gets so creeped out by the messages that she decides to throw the pager away. At midnight, Baum suddenly wakes up from her sleep. She senses some movements outside, and when she goes out to check, she is shocked to find that things messed up, the house in disarray, and the kettle filled with boiling water. She finds the cabinet door closed and goes to check it. A hand suddenly grips her, but she rushes back to her room. Baum is terrified, so she locks the door. But someone keeps knocking, and she frantically gets her gun. Suddenly, the door opens and a red marker rolls inside the room. After that, Baum checks on her daughter and calls the police. She thinks there is an intruder in their house. When the police arrive, they investigate the house, but find no signs of an intruder. Baum goes to Belle's room and finds a knife under her pillow. The police officer finds a newly drawn hand marked like Baum and Ib's in the building, and checks the camera footage to see who did it. Soon, they figure out that Belle drew it, but she is completely unaware of it. The next day, Baum takes Belle to the hospital for a checkup. Upon listening to her condition, the doctor diagnoses Belle with a sleepwalking condition. He then prescribes medication for Belle and instructs Baum to take footage of her daughter's sleepwalking so that they can get a better idea about her condition. Afterwards, Baum visits Ib's family. They now run a scrapyard for their livelihood. Ib's mother gives Baum a gift from Ib. She then presents the contract for the penthouse to Ib's brother. After some negotiations about the payment, Ib's brother agrees to the contract. At night, Baum comes home and opens the gift from Ib. The gift was for her birthday. It is Ib stitching for their names together. Baum then checks her memory box, which is filled with their photos. It looks like a part of her misses Ib, and she considers herself responsible for her loss. She then looks at the footage of Belle and sees a figure moving behind her. Baum rushes to her room, but Belle is nowhere to be found. She starts searching for Belle and finds her at the entrance door. It looks as if Belle is welcoming someone inside the house. She then talks to someone while sitting on the sofa, while Baum records her. Belle then brings a glass of orange juice and puts it on the table. To Baum's surprise, something invisible drinks the orange juice. Afterwards, Baum hears Belle singing her and Ib's favorite song while sitting on the terrace wall. Baum rushes to her, worried that she might end up jumping. The next day, Belle and Belle have breakfast together while discussing their plans for her upcoming 15th birthday. Belle wants to cancel her birthday party as she doesn't feel well. Belle then drinks orange juice, and Baum remembers Ib. It seems that Baum has a hunch at this point that something bad is about to happen. She then visits the penthouse building and gives Ib a red apple as an offering. She then gets on her knees and starts begging Ib to spare her daughter's life. A strong wind passes, and Baum is scared to find the apple eaten by maggots. She then comes down the building and finds a little kid who gets scared after seeing something. She asks him about it. The kid says that a ghost is following her. Baum presses the kid for more details, but he is traumatized. Right then, his mother comes, who happens to be a worker at the building. She takes her son with him. Back home, Baum's maid finds all the fruit to be rotten. Belle falls asleep and starts sleepwalking. She is looking for scissors. It looks as if Baum has hidden all the sharp things to keep Belle safe. But when Belle asks for scissors, the maid gives them to her. When the maid leaves for the market, Belle starts cutting the curtain, and it looks like she plans to. At the same time, Baum arrives home and finds Ib's pager in the parking lot, showing her messages. She rushes to her home and finds Belle from the curtain and choking. Thankfully, the curtain rods broke, allowing Belle to survive. Belle is shocked to see the pager and tells her mother that she threw it away. At night, Baum burns the pager and all her memories with Ib. She then shares her secret with Belle, that she and Ib were best friends and decided on her 15th birthday. But she failed to fulfill her pact with Ib. She kept it hidden from everyone, including Ib's family. Belle now realizes that she is about to turn 15 in a few days, and is worried and scared that Ib is planning to take her life. After that, Belle asks her mother to promise that she will never think about it. Baum promises to do so. At midnight, Baum finds Belle in the shower. It looks as if Belle cannot sleep again due to her nightmares. The next day, Baum hires a nurse to take care of Belle while she is away. She goes back to the penthouse building and asks the little boy for help. She wants to communicate with Ib, and the boy can see her ghost. She threatens the boy to help her, or she will remove his mother from the job. This forces the boy to help her. When they enter the building, the boy sees Ib's ghost on the higher floor, so they follow it. They finally find Ib's ghost through a shadow on the wall. Baum asks the boy to transfer her message to Ib's ghost. She tells her to forgive Baum for breaking her promise and spare her daughter's life. The kid asks Ib if she will forgive her or not, to which she replies that she will not spare her daughter. This enraged Baum, who starts throwing things at the wall. Suddenly, the shadow on the wall disappears, and an unseen force grips the little boy and starts draining him. This scares the boy, who runs away. Baum follows the kid and holds him, but Ib's ghost terrifies him further. The kid starts screaming, and Baum comforts him. The next day, Baum has a meeting with investors and Ib's family. She is extremely anxious, because tomorrow is Belle's 15th birthday. She is scared for her daughter, and thinks Ib is going to attack her. She then asks the investors to leave, as she wants to have a private conversation with Ib's family. She finally opens up about her secret promise with Ib, and how they were supposed to together, but she backed out. She tearfully apologizes to Ib's mother, and says she was foolish back then. She requests that Ib's mother talk to her and spare Belle's life. Ib's family is confused at her shocking request, and they decide to leave. At night, Baum receives a call from the nurse saying that Belle has disappeared from the room. Shortly after, she gets a call from Belle asking for help. She says she is at Baum's old house, so Baum goes to get her back. Baum has no other option but to tie her daughter to the bed. This is because her 15th birthday is coming, and Baum must keep her safe. She unties Belle after she says she needs to pee. Just then, her eyes turn red, and Baum sees her daughter possessed. She prevents her daughter from removing the tie, making Belle punch her, but she manages to tie her up again. Throughout the night, Belle appears possessed and keeps on chanting rhymes from their childhood. The tearful mother has no option but to see her child in agony. She then makes a bold decision. Baum is desperate to save her daughter's life, so she gets her gun and decides to fulfill her promise. She is sitting in the car, hopeless and tired, and presses the trigger repeatedly, but bullets do not come out of the gun. It seems that Ib wants to take Belle's life, not Baum's. This makes her furious, and she decides to visit Ib's home, where she threatens her family with the weapon and asks them to save her daughter. In anger, she throws away Ib's ashes and cries out in desperation. She tearfully goes back home and talks to her daughter. She wants Belle to hold on till midnight, and everything will be fine. That night, Baum accidentally falls asleep due to exhaustion, and when she wakes up, she finds Belle gone. The apartment is in shambles, and she sees familiar handprints everywhere. She rushes to the penthouse and calls an ambulance, because she knows something bad is about to happen. Just at the entrance, she receives a video call from Belle, who tells her to look up. Suddenly, a heavy object falls, but Baum manages to avoid it. She looks up again to find Belle holding a gun. Something bad is going to happen. So, she rushes to the higher floor, but Belle keeps moving away. Afterwards, Baum sees a figure covered in a blanket. She soon sees Belle, and rushes towards her, but the blanket covers her. She removes the blanket and goes to her daughter, but she disappears. In an attempt to do so, she almost falls to the ground herself. She then receives a call from Belle, who is loading bullets in the weapon. Baum rushes to stop her and take the gun away, but Belle holds it firmly. Baum then decides to point the choosing to in place of her daughter. Belle pulls the trigger, and Baum steps back in fear, making her fall to the lower ground. She then watches her daughter desperately. Belle is now pointing the gun. So Baum gets her phone and points its flash at Belle, waking her up. But we see it's too late. Belle has already pulled the trigger. After that, Baum comes to the higher level and looks at a familiar scene from years ago. Her daughter is lying in a pool of blood, but soon Baum notices that she is in fact alive and gasping for air. The ambulance arrives as well and takes her to the hospital. The doctors manage to save Belle and remove the bullet. However, she ends up in a state of paralysis due to her injuries. Baum visits to the penthouse and sees Belle's writing in their handprint. She apologizes to Ib for breaking her promise and says they will eventually meet again, but she will never try to take. On the other hand, investors back out of the development plan for the penthouse, and Baum goes bankrupt. The bank seizes their house, and they must leave. While leaving, Baum finds a tape recorder with a beautiful message recorded by Belle. At the end of the movie, it seems that Ib stops haunting Baum and her daughter. Baum now lives in a small apartment with her daughter. Although Belle is paralyzed and their lifestyle is not as lavish, they are together, and that's what matters most.